I failed over and over and over and over again. I bet you I've blown over 20, 30 challenges before ever passing my first challenge. I got my very first payout, I think 4 years ago now. It was 10K. I got my split, and I literally thought that I was guaranteed to be rich for the rest of my life. I never had to work again. And so I quit my job and I moved my family, and I failed miserably. I thought I had it well before I had it. One payout doesn't mean shit. Nothing comes easy and nothing comes quick within this industry. But once it comes down, everything is easy and everything is quick. It doesn't take 10 years like it took me. It just takes consistently sticking to the same exact thing and progressively making it better over time. I've been streaming now for 3 years straight. I've been streaming for 1 year with my own team. And so I have a journal of the last 3 years indicating that every month, more often than not, out of every 10 trades I call live in front of everybody, I'm going to win 7 of them. Not everything is what you guys think it is in this industry. Not everybody is who they say they are. Understand a lot of these people aren't there either. And I mean that.
Folks, we welcome Emmitt Smith onto the show today. He's about to share with you his entire trading journey, ups and downs. You're going to learn so much from it. And afterwards, we actually did a charting breakdown where he shows you how he identifies trends, which are so key to get that direction for the day, week, or month. Folks, that's all coming up here on Trading Up. Now, before we dive in, we're going to find out how I'm getting on with my Blue Guardian challenge. Right, folks, let's dive in. My Blue Guardian 100K challenge. Here's how I'm getting on. So currently at minus 0.265. I was at minus 0.6, so I've gone up a little bit. Now, it wasn't the best end to the week. You're going to find out why and see why I've got this dip here in a second. So let's dive into those trades. So this chart here actually shows you the trades and the commissions. So all those little dips are the commissions. So the first one was a good win, and then I had a full loss here, and watch this. This is notable. So the full loss was minus 424 with an $85 commission. Okay, so keep that in mind. Did all right for the rest of the week, some break-even days, and then finally got a couple of wins at the end. Then I got this massive loss here. What happened? In fact, it wasn't great. The copier that I used copied the trade across to my VPS, copied it onto the platform, took the trade, and then my VPS shut down during the trade. By the time I noticed, it was currently sitting at minus 3R on that trade. You can see here the commission's the same. I should have been at like a minus $400, but we've wiped out basically all the good work for the week and ended up at break even again. So not the best outcome. I've now added a take profit and stop loss to the trade copier, which I didn't like doing because sometimes you get wicked out with the difference in price feeds. Anyway, that's where we're at. Folks, if you do want to take your own Blue Guardian 100K challenge, then there's a coupon in the description. It's all one word, Trading Nut, and you're going to get 10% off. All right, let's dive in with the show. All right, folks, here we are in Trading Nut. We've got Emmitt Smith in the house, not the famous NFL player. I don't know what he was going to say, linebacker. I don't know. But we've got a Forex trader here who's been profitable for the last 4 years, full-time trader for the last, I don't know how long, it's probably been even longer than that, but you've been in the game since 2013. We're going to hear your story, find out how you made it in this industry, which is so tough, and go into a bit of detail around what you're doing now. So to start off with, welcome to the show, Emmitt.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Glad to be here.
Well, let's start off with how did you get into this industry? Well, I know it was IML, so we'll sort of skip through that because a lot of people go through IML. But I mean, once you sort of broke through the barriers there, what happened with your trading journey?
To be honest, the first couple of years, nothing happened with the trading journey. I honestly just knew about the industry and knew it could become of it because of the people I started to follow on Instagram and really starting to become intertwined with the industry. But nothing became of it until, again, about 4.5, 5 years ago, where I actually buckled down because a good friend of mine actually started getting real results from trading, and not just kind of being in the industry and following people are doing it and starting to think maybe potentially I could make it happen, but not actually putting in the time to make it happen. So I think, again, it's just actually buckling down and really starting to understand that you want to get serious within trading and following a methodical plan to actually get to the point of success is when everything changed for me, you know?
And so if you want to sort of paint the picture of like what were you doing at that time, because I think this is quite interesting for a lot of people in terms of like, how do you manage your life, whatever else going on in it, family, work, that kind of thing, making like, you know, paying the mortgage, paying the rent, to allowing enough time to saying, oh, I'm buckling down to do the trading thing. What was the balance for you?
So even until probably about 6 months ago, so I never really found balance within trying to learn how to trade and doing my full-time job. I don't really think there's balance in being able to pay your bills with the full-time job and learning how to trade. If you want to live a life that other people don't live, you have to do things other people don't do. And that's just kind of struggle. So while I was learning how to trade, everything within this journey had to come after my 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really find balance to pay bills. I really was just doing it every time I got off of work. I'd come home, I would study how to trade. I would apply it to the markets. I would lose over and over and over again. I would try to figure out, okay, why am I losing, this trade? Why am I losing during this month? What have you? And then come back and reassess and such. But again, the whole journey started once you got home from work. I really couldn't do anything at work. I didn't have a job where I can sit down or go run to the bathroom and trade while I'm at work. I had a physical job of plumbing and moving and very hard labor job. So the time was put in after I actually got off and when the bills were paid. So I think that's a big reason why a lot of people do fail, is because they don't understand what it actually takes. They think at some point there's going to be enough time where they can figure out how to run things. And at least from my experience, again, it wasn't that case. Everything started after I got off of work and after my 9 to 5 was taken care of.
Did you have to sacrifice, I suppose, time with family, friends, girlfriends, that kind of thing?
So I don't have kids. I'm not, it's awful to say, but I'm not the biggest family man. Everybody knows I'm kind of off of my personal journey. So as far as sacrifice, I think sacrifice is that I never turned into a very big hang around friends or hang around family type of person, because I was always dedicated to my craft of becoming successful and living the life that I wanted to live. So I guess bigger sacrifice was just not being able to hang around people and do the things that people did at my age, because I was more so focused on becoming successful. Now, with that being said, I had a lot of fun when I was 21 to 23 years old. Again, this real grind started about 4 years ago. The first couple of years of my trading journey were just understanding the industry, but not actually heavily involving myself within it.
And so let's dive back a little bit in terms of what did you try when you first started, and how did that evolve from a strategy point of view?
Yeah, so my very first strategy was from Ryan Gilpin. Everybody knows him, Ryan Gilpin and Q Banks. And
my last
he taught Forever and Profits. Yeah. So that was pretty much a very Fibonacci based approach, understanding what an impulsive leg is. And once you get a retracement, when it comes down to a certain point, entering the trade. At that point, I was doing decent for myself. But again, I wasn't giving it the extensive time it needed for that strategy to turn from a 60% to a 70, 80% plus strategy, and so I had very minor results, if any results at all. And then I would push back into other people in IML, i.e. like Q Banks, and everything I learned at first was all Fibonacci based trading for the first couple of years until I learned supply and demand. And I think that's when everything kind of switched around for me. Is I am now currently to this day a supply and demand trader as well.
And so how did you learn supply and demand? What was the course that you took, or was it through the internet, or how did you do it?
So for me, I think I took a very mechanical, long-winded approach to becoming successful. Like a lot of people I see became profitable in a couple of years. For me, I had to learn everything. I had to learn support and resistance. I had to learn Fibonacci trading. I had to learn breakout trading and go through the reins of all torture before I came to supply and demand and learned what I, at least myself, were profitable at. And I think what it was is my best profitability stage before actually becoming full-time was Fibonacci trading. But my risk to reward wasn't too well, because I'm always putting my stop below an impulsive leg. So I'd get like a 1-to-1, a 1-to-2, and that would be good to go. However, once I went into a losing streak, I would actually lose accounts instead of stay within the game. So I wanted something with higher R to R and more intricate entries. And that was kind of when supply and demand popped into my table. I'm not too sure how I started learning supply and demand, but it did not start with ICT. It started with the man Doyle Exchange. So I just wanted to heavily put that on here. He is the man who taught me most of supply and demand and actually got me introduced to it before I kind of curated it into being my own strategy.
I've had Doyle on the show before. He's okay. great guy, great trader. Okay, so you learned from him, or you learned some of the supply and demand from him.
Supply and demand from him, yeah.
And so how did you sort of construct the strategy yourself so that you were you made it your own, and you were happy and confident that you're willing to go ahead and trade this live?
Yeah, well, I learned his foundation of supply and demand, which helped me, understand how to get a better intricate entry within the markets. I mean, literally going down to the 5 minute time frame, and when price comes to a certain point, more often than not, it's going to have a heavy rejection and give me profits within, like 20 minutes to an hour, which is incredible to me. One thing I didn't like from him is he is a really heavy one-to-one trader. And so as we were speaking before, if you can't maintain a 70 to 80% win rate over the course of a month, you're potentially not going to be in profit. And so I took his idea of intricate entries and my idea of needing higher risk to reward and kind of curated my own strategy from that point.
So just on that, lower time frame, 5 minute entries. I mean, what size on average stop loss would you normally get, or even like what would Doyle even get? What size stop loss?
Doyle, so we're actually very the same in there. So Doyle, if he's using like AUD USD or EUR USD as an instrument, it'll be seriously like 3 to 8 pips. Same with me. But when it comes to GJ and GU, he can be anywhere from 10 to 20 pips for a stop loss, which is the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because what I've found in the past with trading that time frame, if you don't get if your stop's too tight, like say 3 pips, if you're getting a 3 pip stop and you're going for 1-to-1, you're kind of like giving a lot of your profit away in terms of commission. And if you take
extremely fast too.
Yeah,
right,
exactly. So it's like if you get it wrong, you've basically not just lost 1R, but you've probably lost 1R minus the commission, which can be up to like 0.25 of the R. Because if you're risking a percentage of the account, unless you've got a fixed lot. So I don't know. So you really do need that high win rate, and it can play with your mind if you can't get it.
You need a high win rate, and if you don't have a high win rate, obviously you have to make it up with higher R to R as well.
Yeah. So how did you take his stuff and get a higher R to R with it?
So same entry tactics. It's just active trade management is all it was. So once we actually get into the trade and the 1-to-1 does hit, starting to do testing as far as should I put my stops to be at a 1-to-1? Should I put my stops to be at a 1-to-2? And what happens from these points? So I use a moving average indicator just to kind of show me as long as price is sitting directly above it, I'm going to stay within these trades. And if price starts to trade below it within a buy scenario, I may potentially start to look to get out of these trades. But allowing for my trade to breathe once it is a winning trade and seeing how high it could potentially go. As far as my take profits, it's the same exact thing every single day. It's going to be the prior session high or low. Okay. So if I'm getting in at a prior session low, I'm going to be chasing the high and vice versa. Every single day, my take profits are never switched up.
Okay. And what sessions do you trade and what's the moving average? Because I know everyone's going to ask in the comments.
Yeah, of course. So I trade New York session and I use a 13 moving average.
Okay.
And so are you a simple moving average or exponential or?
No, exponential moving average. It's
okay,
more closely related to current price.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so you're going to be targeting like either Asia high or low or London high or low. Is that correct?
Only London high or low.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'll also use them at entry tactics as well. So when I see the previous session low or high get taken out, I'll use that as my entry to take it to the next high or low of the previous session. Liquid grab setup.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. That's interesting. So do you have like a sort of minimum that you're going to look for, because you can obviously see where the target is when you're entering the trade. Are you sort of going, well, look, if it's not this, I'm going to not take the trade?
Very low. So as long as it's a 1-to-2 to previous session high or low, I'm good to execute the trade. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So you're happy with a 1-to-2 over a 1-to-1 just because you're going to be, I suppose you can take more losses and
simply I can lose 2 trades and still be break even. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so when you're looking at a session, are you taking more than one trade in a session or just is it one trade rule? I'm out.
1 to 3 trades max. So a lot of these trades, as we were talking about with these type stop losses, my zone will still hold, but the stop loss itself, since I don't put it below the zone, I put it below the lowest wick that tapped into that zone. Sometimes I have to give my trade a second chance. So 2 to 3 trades within the day, and then that's it. If I lose 2 in a row, there is no third trade, just moving on to the next day.
Okay, right. So you sort of like think, okay, well, if I don't, so there's a chance that you get it wrong and you'll go in again. And if that's it, you got your second chance, you're out. Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at Black Bull Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at Black Bull Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at Black Bull Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below. So do you ever have, or have you ever had like that sort of consecutive days where I've had two trays, and I keep getting it wrong for whatever? Does that ever happen?
As far as, are you just saying over trading, taking more than?
No, it's more of a losing streak. So like, you thought like, oh, I'll take this one, and then the next, I lost two today. Next day you go in and you lose another two. Have you ever had that where you get that? And what's the sort of what's the maximum losing streak you get? And I suppose what R is your sort of like, if you're getting a higher R2, what's the sort of high R that you'd be targeting or getting at one point to bring back some of those losses?
Yeah, so the highest R usually from previous session high and low is about 1 to 5, 1 to 6 high R.
Okay.
I guess I just have confidence within my strategy to understand that 1 to 2 is okay for me because I've heightened my win percentage to that point. I actually stream myself even to this day, not 5 days a week anymore as of 2 days ago. I only stream 1 day a week, which we'll talk about at the end here. So it's all about my confidence. I mean, I've been streaming now for 3 years straight. I've been streaming for 1 year with my own team. And so I have a journal of the last 3 years indicating that every month, more often than not, I am a 70% trader. Okay. So more often than not, out of every 10 trades I call live in front of everybody, I'm going to win 7 of them. So that's where the confidence come in within giving my trade a second chance when my first trade doesn't hit, or understanding that I can take these 1 to 2s because more often than not, I'm going to hit comes from. But the data and the sample sizing, the time and experience behind the strategy is the reason why I continue to be profitable for 1, and 2, I continue to take my shot every time it lines up. I think that a lot of people hit a psychological block because they take 5, 6, or 7 losing trades in a row and then decide to climb all the way down the ladder and move on to the next mentor, move on to the next strategy, and then have to go through all that pain of getting themselves up even to that 60% level of trading within that strategy, let alone 70, 80, 90%. So I want to heavily express that if you're going through a losing pattern, but you have data from the past understanding that this strategy is profitable, the worst thing you can possibly do is, again, jump off that ladder, remove that strategy, and move towards something else instead of understanding the reason why you went through that lose streak. It happens to the best of us. As Luca, I know an extreme amount of people within this industry at this point. Nobody is never losing. Okay. Nobody doesn't have a bad month that I've seen so far. And just have to continue pushing forward with a strategy that you have proven to know that still works.
And so in terms of your back testing, how did you go about that? What was your sort of approach?
Yeah. So at first, and honestly, I think this prolonged my success for a while, which I'm sure people would say the opposite, but backtesting every single day, every time I took a loss, every time I took a win, every last bit of my strategy was backtesting to the point where I think I was doing it for fun and not actually really extracting data from it, just acting like if I'm on the charts backtesting 2 hours a day, that I'm probably getting somewhere instead of actually having a methodical plan to actually get somewhere, Once you learn a strategy, and I think the best form of back testing is forward testing, live market conditions. More often than not, once you reach 50% with the trading strategy, the only way you're going to up it to higher percentages is time and experience. And that's only going to happen through live market conditions and trading the strategy with the emotions as well, and not just a back testing session. But for new people, back testing is good. I do highly pride you in doing so when you're trying to learn the strategy. But once you learn it, in order to make it stronger and again have a higher win percentage, I think it just comes with time and experience in live markets.
Yeah, because there is that transition between back testing something and then going live, and actually sort of A, fitting it within your routine, B, having the patience and discipline to sit there and wait for the setup and then execute it flawlessly, which is, it can be hard to do. I mean, did you ever sort of find that at times you had, you must have like a bunch of rules that you follow, that you struggled to meet every single rule or match your back test rules? Or was it easy enough that, once you see the setup, there's no sort of grayness in that, It could be a fake kind of view of the setup that looked like the setup, but it wasn't quite the setup. Or when it transposed itself, you probably wouldn't have taken it in a back test because you could see what was actually going to happen. And you took the one that actually did give you the entry, another setup that looked exactly the same, but it was just at a different point, if you know what I mean. Because this happens to me all the time where I'm like, I'll backtest something and I'll go, that looks like a winning trade. Yeah, I'll take that. But in the actual live market, I'll go back and have a look and go, what did I actually do? Well, I took that trade. Oh, geez, the setup was there as well, but I didn't see it in the back test because it didn't look like it was the setup in the back test. Right. So have you ever experienced that?
So with old strategies, yes. With my strategy now, no. Especially with breakout trading, it's like a lot of breakout traders, once you become experienced, once we're breaking out of a zone, and backtesting session, as soon as you pop through that guy, you're hopping into it. But in live market conditions, if you pop up and come back below, you might hang out for a second before you hit the button, like that type of scenario,
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of why my strategy is so easy to teach and such is no. I have a rule-based system, as 3 rules need to line up in order for my zone to be validated. And if it is validated, it's game over. Once it comes down and taps into that zone and we get a candle closure, that very next candle, as soon as we break above previous candles highs, we're hopping into that trade. So there's no discrepancy of a potential fake out or, it's all kind of very XYZ rule-based strategy. But yes, in the past, it's like you go on a back testing session and you're a 95% trader. You're like, oh my God, I'm rich. I'm going to quit my job. Everything is done with. And then you go trade your first live market and then you're a 20% trader. You're like, what happened? And I think, in my opinion, I think that's because you don't have your strategy solidified yet for anybody who's listening to this and going through that. You need to continue to potentially backtest, but once again, you get to that point where you can win every other trade, a 50% trader. You're probably not going to grow from that point until you start executing live market conditions with real money, so you can feel the emotions and all.
Did you start live streaming? You said you did it 3 years ago. I mean, did you start streaming when you were profitable, or like what was your sort of point that you thought, okay, well, I'm going to start streaming these trades? And did it help you maintain your sort of discipline and patience and that kind of thing?
So when I started streaming, I had profitable segments, or it's like I was profitable for a couple months and do bad, which I still have bad months now, by the way. I don't kill it every single month. But I was halfway profitable when I started streaming. It wasn't my stream, like we were talking about earlier, Dr. Dollar. I was introduced to his stream from another man, Daniel Savage, which I'm sure you've heard of as well. And so I hopped onto a stream one day. He actually noticed me because we went to go do a meetup video with Daniel Savage, a couple months prior, what have you. And so he put me on, I turned my video on, and literally from that point, I started streaming in front of hundreds of people when I only had like 2 or 3 payouts from FTMO. And that was it. Like the only reason I was in this hot spot is because I went to go see Daniel and he saw my result and we talked about it and such. So, I was thrown into the fire, very quick. And so all the emotions and such that I felt like I just conquered and I just started becoming a decent trader all got thrown out the window, because now I'm trading in front of hundreds of people and I have to perform in front of them and take all these trades. And it was an interesting dynamic when I first started streaming. Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you find it that it helps you more now that you've got that sort of audience that you're trading in front of?
Accountability, of course, because whatever I have to preach what I teach. I have to teach what I preach. So my rule-based strategy, it's helped me so much and make sure that I'm following it, because my people know my strategy like the back of their hand, right? So everybody in my signal group, if I call a signal and it doesn't line up with my strategy, I'm going to hear about it for sure.
Yeah. Why are you taking this one? Why are you taking this one? It doesn't make sense. And so, like, in terms of that, like, just from a time delay point of view, like, if you were going to take a trade and post it in a signal group, what would you how long have these people got to take that trade? I.e., are you giving them a level, a few minutes before or seconds before you would actually enter yourself?
Yeah, so I put like a get ready for potential, whatever the instrument is, buys or sells. Okay, so that gives them a couple minutes to A, go look at the chart, see if their trade correlates to mine, and then B, as soon as that signal hits, they can execute it themselves. But every single signal comes with the pre-warning beforehand, just so they know that I'm about to enter the markets.
Yeah, okay. So
because I'm a scalper /J trader, so if I don't give them forewarning, they're just not going to have any opportunity to get into the trade in the first place, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was just kind of thinking, like, if you're on that lower time frame, it's so hard to get that actual entry, especially if you're trying to copy it from someone else, because it's such the fine line, especially if it shoots off. You're going to miss it, and your RR is out the window. Makes sense. So these guys know what they're doing beforehand, which they can feed into their actual own trading. So, okay, what about, like, you know, conquering some of those emotional aspects of what you were, across the journey? I mean, the things that, I mean, I've seen in the reels that you've done, you obviously are fully aware of all the sort of pitfalls that us humans fall into. Can you talk us through anything you did where you were able to conquer one of those, like, you know, issues around strategy hopping, discipline, patience, that kind of thing?
Just consistency and doing the same exact thing every single day. Really tightening up everything and sticking to that and getting results over a long period of time, instead of feeding into all of these fallacies and fantasies of Instagram and everything needs to happen now and I need to be rich tomorrow. And time and experience. I'm going to say it a million times during this podcast. Nothing comes easy and nothing comes quick within this industry. But once it comes down, everything is easy and everything is quick, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
But it takes time to get to that point. And I think negating away from all these, the only way I got through the emotional level of executing and managing my trade, I mean, one is by account managing people. I think has helped a shit ton, honestly, is actually taking other people's funds and managing them, not real funds, just prop firm funds for anybody watching. But I genuinely believe the reason why I'm to the point where I am now is because I've been doing it for a very long time, not trading itself, just trading my specific strategy itself every single day at the exact same time, trading the exact same instruments over and over and over through the course of time, to obviously beginning to get results at some point, because I'm mastering it, just like anything, just like any job you pick up, whether it's some huge executive job or working at McDonald's. You suck your first day, and then your second, third month in, second, third year in, you start to master this craft and become better at it. So I think there's a quick route that could come to become trading profitable. It doesn't take 10 years like it took me. It just takes consistently sticking to the same exact thing and progressively making it better over time, just like anything in the world.
And so would you say, like, you know, when you came into this industry, you felt like, okay, well, there's something different about me that's going to help me become this trader? You know, you're obviously a plumber beforehand. I mean, like, you kind of, like, it's chalk and cheese really, but I know I've had tradesmen on here before where there's actually a whole group of them that do teach tradesmen how to become traders. What about, like, you know, did you find that you had a knack for this at any point in time where you thought, okay, I've got this, I feel like I'm actually probably destined to be a trader versus a plumber, something like that?
I gotta be honest. Again, coming back to me knowing a lot of traders in this industry, almost every last one of them are some quite the most cockiest people I've ever seen in my entire life. Let's keep it real. I think me and a lot of other people who've actually became profitable already knew we were going to become profitable the first day that we started trading. I don't know if it's just some type of thing you have inside of you, because it bleeds well beyond this industry. Even when I was plumbing, even when I was a mover, even when I was working at Panda Express, even when I went to college, everything I did, I gave it my all. And I always felt like I was the best at everything I've done. And I prided myself at it. And when people encouraged me or told me I would go even harder to be even better. Like, I've just always been that person. And again, every profitable trader I've met kind of states the same exact thing. I mean, you just got to understand you're that guy and be that guy, you know, and it's not about cockiness. It's confidence that comes from experience. And so I just, I always thought I was going to be here. So now seeing it happen was just like, okay, finally, you know, I've worked my ass off to get to this point. So finally, this is all coming to me. I've been teaching people for years, and I always think that your bank account is a direct result of the value you give to others. And my bank account is extensively growing now because I'm extensively giving value to the world. So everything is kind of a full circle.
It's a great answer, and I think a lot of people have probably shied away from giving that answer. I've never heard it before on the show. it's kind of been in the back of my mind, like for a long, long time, that the guys who are profitable have kind of almost like told themselves, damn it, I'm going to be profitable regardless. And it's almost like a barrier that you need to get across in the real depths of your mind before you can break it into like this, I'm actually going to make this work. And I think part of the first part is step one, understand that other people are actually making money in this, which I think holds a lot of people back for a lot of time. And they all start thinking it's just a big scam. Whereas once you break that, then it's like, oh, now how do I get into that mindset? And I think you've just put the nail on the head there. There is a level of confidence, cockiness, whatever you want to call it, to get there. All right, now diving into like the nitty gritty here, like what markets are you trading when you're looking for trade setups?
Pound yen, pound dollar, Aussie dollar, and NAS, and that's it.
And how did you land on those markets there?
I've traded GJ and GU my entire career. AU was the pair that got me profitable. AU was the first pair I've ever traded on. Shout out to Ryan for that. And then NAS was just the past like year and a half. Let's be honest. I think that everybody in this industry has switched over to some indice. I felt I needed to do the same, and NAS was kind of my end to do so. So that's why I started trading NAS.
Well, it's AU was a funny one, because I was actually back testing AU just in the past week, and I was like, why am I not trading AU more? Because it's kind of like it moves fairly reliably. I mean, have you found sort of any sort of I suppose nuances with AU compared to other pairs?
We were talking about 3 pip stop loss. To me, a 3 pip stop loss on AU is a 10 pip stop loss on GJ. It just moves so slow. So as long as you're cooler with those tighter stop losses, you're good. If not, if you one of the people who need the 10, 15, 20 pip stop loss, for AU to give you a 1 to 3, 1 to 4 in a day using a 10, 15 pip stop loss, it's got to be an extensive move. So I think you either have to, because you're a swing trader, aren't you? Or
I'm a swing trader, but I'm kind of like, I'm wanting to get back into scalping a little bit in the Asia session. Like I was doing Asia and London was really screwing me over. But I think I'm good for Asia now. And but it'll be UJ and Asia only. Primarily
UJ and A. Okay,
yeah,
I was going to say, come join the stream.
Yeah, right. Because you do AU and Asia, do you?
I do know, but I only do it during New York. So.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if there's enough volatility really in Asia, especially with the spreads and stuff. It just kind of 3 pip stop. UJ seems to be more. You're going to get more movement, less spread. So you want to, if your moving stops to break even, is going to hold more. So I just find it it's a little bit. It's got more swing. It's got more volatility during that session, purely because it just moves. It moves a lot more.
Right.
All right, so let's start off with like, what does your typical trading day look like?
Very simple. As of the last 2 weeks, very simple. Beforehand, I'd wake up at 5:30. I'd hop on my computer and do a breakdown for my group. I just stopped doing that because I opened up another business. So I'm in the process of kind of reworking my schedule and what have you, but we'll just kind of get to that schedule. So this is all new. So I'd wake up, I give them a full breakdown of all of my charts. And the reason why I do that is because before I upload that video, my group is supposed to, analyze all of their charts themselves. And then when they watch my breakdown, they can correlate the two and make sure that we're together. And then we hop on stream and trade them together, So do the breakdown. I get my cup of coffee. I hop on stream. We mark out everything for the second time all together. I trade from 9:30 until 11 o'clock Eastern, which is, from the start of New York until pretty much the end. I take mostly pre-New York session trades. So we're actually on the charts at 7:30. So pretty much my whole trading window is from 7:30 till 11 o'clock. But once I'm done, I end stream about 10:30 and go about my day. Every day, it's pretty much from 6:30 till 11 o'clock. But again, telling you, reworking my schedule because I just opened up another business. It is now almost strictly from 9:30 to 11 o'clock, only hour and a half window of volume.
Okay. And so do you find that you get the same amount of trades in that period of time? Have you sort of, reviewed your trades and thought, well, like the 7:30 to 9:30, I'm not it doesn't really matter that I'm missing that 2 hour period?
No, I've actually been having a smaller amount of trades trading 9:30 to 11 o'clock. But obviously volume kicks in at that point. So take profits are hitting a lot quicker and there's a lot less consolidation and manipulation, by just not trading the pre-session times.
Yeah. And so like from that, I mean, I've had a couple of traders on recently where they've moved from something that was quite intense, a couple of hours at the charts a day or they're trying to get away from that and, bring back the time element. So they've got more time you've got a whole afternoon, which is awesome. But they bring more time in the day. So trading's now, they're trying to consolidate it down. I mean, have you got a plan for the future whereby, you're moving up higher timeframes or anything to try and reduce that? Or as you're sort of thinking like, okay, I'm using trading as a vehicle to get me to some capital to then invest in other things, which are going to give me the time freedom?
I mean, routines got me to this point. Unlike a lot of people, I think I actually enjoy trading. I enjoy teaching trading. I enjoy the data behind it. I enjoy increasing my win percent. I enjoy the actual trading itself, So as of now, no, I have no plans to switch to swing trading or switching into lower trading times or, less trading days. I am a creature of routine and I do my best when I'm in routine. If I'm waking up at the same time every day, going to bed at the same time every day. And I have no plans to switch to any type of swing trading.
Okay. And so what, in terms of like routine, like, I think routine is key and it obviously sort of instills discipline. What about when you've got to do something out of your routine or your routine gets interrupted? I mean, how do you cope with that sort of disruption?
Well, I just no excuses. Whatever needs to be done on my planner, I have to get done no matter what. But the busier you get and the more businesses you open and the more connections you make, some things can't always get done. I just want to make sure at the start of every week, I'm coming back to center and beginning that routine as best as I possibly can. Sometimes that gets negated from vacation or live streams or instances, I'm a man of living life. So I'm not about just, XYZ, not having any type of fun in life and such. But at the end of every week and the start of every week, I like to recenter myself, come in here into my office, write down everything I need to do and make sure I'm at least starting the week and ending the week with the decent routine,
Okay, cool. So you just reset at the start of the week. That's it.
Just
awesome.
Reset, yeah.
Now, what about prop firms? You talked about, you've got a couple of FTMO funded accounts and, how did it all play out? I mean, were you one of these guys that were able to get through and pass your first challenge, or did you blow a ton of accounts? How did it all play out?
Yeah, so no, man, I got introduced to FTMO and I don't have any FTMO accounts anymore, by the way. In probably 2016 or so. I don't put an exact timestamp on it. And no, I failed over and over and over and over again. At that point, I was running a moving business. It wasn't my company. I was just the operations manager. And so I was making, for me at that time, a shit ton of money, okay, for myself at least. And I didn't have any kids. I wasn't going to school or anything. So I had all the money in the world to give to FTMO. And I mean, I should go back and look. I should have, done my analysis before hopping on here, but I bet you I've blown over 20, 30 challenges before ever passing my first challenge. Easily, I in all types of accounts, and be like, you get a 100K account and you come kind of close to passing it and say, okay, I don't have money for another 100K. So let's do like a 50K and see if I do well. But then I do a bit better with 50K, go back to 100K, 25K. And I just always, like we were talking about earlier, that cocky confidence side of me is like, well, it's obviously going to happen. I don't know how much money I have to spend. I don't know when I'm going to pass, but you're obviously going to get a payout. You're obviously going to pass. So just keep investing. Let anybody talk all the shit they want. It's going to happen, bro. You just got to throw it in. Yeah. And it would never happen because I never took it serious. I never journaled my trades. I never saw what was going on. I just figured, okay, well, if I hop onto this next stream or if I hop onto this next strategy, this will be the golden ticket to get me to the next point. And onwards with the failing challenges, I went. And it was all, and I'll be honest, the first challenge I ever passed with FTMO was, in my opinion, extreme luck. It was off of 2 trades over the course of 2 days, on GU. And I mean, it was a long time ago, but the first trade I made like 3-4%. And then the second day I won the rest of it, like 5-6% over leveraging and such, and blew that account within like 2 weeks, like just not putting the respect on the account I worked so damn hard for. But instead of like sitting down and thinking deep with myself, I guess, and trying to understand, like I talk about this plan all the time and how I can get to that next level. I just had that confident level of, well, shit, it's going to happen. So just buy another one and don't worry about those emotions, push them to the side. So I think there's a fine line of, for you cocky people out there who understand it's going to happen, you still need to sit down at some point and stop blowing through all those life savings and your money as that's happening, and try to come up with a real solidified plan as to how can I get from this person I continue to be and to the person I want to be, because clearly there's no in between of stopping trading. Clearly, whether it's addiction or the crave for it or the need for whatever the hell it is, if you're not going to quit, like most of us successful people told ourselves when we started, try to figure out a way to actually make it happen instead of going through all these faults of all of these people that you continue to watch from all these podcasts. I actually take that and do something with it instead of going down our same path and having to say the same story. I mean, it's very cool to see people that you have on here who've become profitable in like 3 months, 6 months, and are doing very well for themselves because they took the time to see everything that everybody else is doing wrong and actually made sure they didn't do those things and got to the level they're at. This is why we do all this in the first place,
Yes, it's not uncommon, to be honest. Like a lot of the guys I interview who have gone on to be profitable traders have blown through about 20 accounts on prop firms in recent times anyway. I mean, what about like when you got that first payout from a prop firm? I mean, how did that come about? What was that like?
So I mean, I was completely rich. So this is a very sad story, but we can talk about it. So I got my very first payout, I think 4 years ago now in Colorado. I think it was like November or whatever, 4 years ago. It was 10K. I got my split, and I literally thought that I was guaranteed to be rich for the rest of my life. I never had to work again. And so I quit my job and I moved my family across from Colorado all the way to Florida. This is my first time I moved out here, and I failed miserably. Once I got that payout, we spent it on the moving truck and getting my apartment and, all the shit that comes involved with moving a girlfriend and 2 dogs and a cat across the entire country. And I did so bad. I didn't even get a next payout for a couple months after that point because I blew the account. So I had to get a challenge again. At this point, there was no HFT bots to pass an account for me right away, to get a funded account right away. And I was so stressed to make the money that like I was over leveraging and doing all this dumb shit that I knew I shouldn't do. But the pressure was so heavy onto me to pay our bills that I just slipped back into all of it. And I had the skill, but I was allowing for my emotions to trade for me instead of my skill set to trade for me. And I had to move back. I left my girlfriend here for about 5 months, my 2 dogs and a cat, and I moved back to Colorado to plumb with my best friend's dad. He, gave me my job back, and I had to start working again to pay my bills out here as I started to continue to prop firm trade and get funded and start making money again. I mean, like, I thought I had it well before I had it. I just want to make that heavily known. One payout doesn't mean shit. If you guys have multiple bills, don't just think because you get to pay them for 1 month that you can quit everything and everything is going to be fine. Things really need to be set in stone, in my opinion, for 6 months to a year before you even begin to think like, okay, I'm going to do this full time. And again, it's just the pressure of actually understanding that this full-time gig of trading has to pay your bills now. And you don't have any money spread out elsewhere in different money avenues like I do now. I have multiple streams of income. The pressure of that, even me who does very well under pressure, just kind of collapsed me. And I threw my whole skill set out the window and messed it up. So I guess to end all of this, one payout doesn't mean anything at all, even though you feel like you're on top of the world. I know everybody like blows their money on Rolexes or anything, their first payout. Well, try moving your family across the country your first payout because you thought it's that well set in stone that you're going to be profitable forever. It was a very tough, rough learning lesson for me.
Yeah. I mean, the way I like to look at it is kind of, when you've got like savings or whatever, you look at sort of a salary that you thought that you were happy with, or you think it's a good life. I'm happy with that. And you go, well, okay, how many months can I live on the current, cash savings that I have? And that becomes like the sort of goal. So like you get 10,000 and you go, okay, well, say I was happy to live off 5,000 a month. So you got 2 months, right? So the more you get, the more months you've got. And then what does that month mean? It means you don't need to work for that many months. You
I
could
agree.
actually have no income for that many months, or if it stretches into years, that many years, next thing you know, you're retired because the years run out because you're going to be too old. So it's kind of that's how I look at it. And I don't know if that helps anyone out there who was also doing this, but it's a nice cautionary tale there as to what not to do when you first pay out, which is you move across the country and spend all your money on that. And you're probably going, damn, I should have bought a Rolex. Now, what about like a price chart? So if somebody had to spend a month mastering a few things on a price chart, what would those three things be?
Those three things be the biggest, most expensive one is trend bias. Sticking to your bias for the day, whether it's buy or sells. Understanding higher time frame trend is a massive level of my understanding of the markets. Okay, and I guess I'm just speaking with day traders and scalpers when I say this, but when you go down to lower time frames and you have an understanding of where that higher time frame market is telling you price is going to go, the manipulation and liquid grabs, fake outs, whatever you guys call it, that comes within those smaller time frames, a lot of them you can negate away from because you understand where the market's going to go long term. That would be number one. Number two, obviously, is sticking to a strategy. I would give yourself 3 to 4 months of bad results before you even decide to think that, okay, I need to move towards another strategy. It is such a hindrance on my level of, becoming profitable. That was such a hindrance on my path because I continued to fight for other strategies that could bring me to be that 90% trader, which I'm starting to understand is potentially a real fallacy that does not exist, honestly, over the course of a year plus basis, And then I guess third one is being realistic with yourselves. Maybe not everybody here watches things on Instagram and such as far as other people who are killing it and everything. But I would just say be realistic in what you want to come out of this for yourself. Obviously the world is in front of you and anything could happen. But starting out and with what you have, don't go blowing through all your money to try to become a millionaire in 2 days. Most of these people you see who are doing things like this, just understand that in Vegas as well, when you go to the casino, there's always that one person that hits as well. This is, if you treat it like a business, you will get rewarded like it's a business. If you treat it like a casino, well, we can hope you could win, but again, that's off of hope and gambling. So just put respect on your money as you work very hard for it until you start to really understand how to press a button for it.
Now, what about journaling? So when you mentioned, I suppose that earlier on you said you weren't journaling, it seems like you are journaling now, or you did journal at some point. How did that sort of help you?
Just when you're forced to put something in your journal every day, just like you're forced to call signals every day, having a signal service, the accountability that comes behind it, one, is great, but two, there's just minor little tweaks in price charts that you'll start to see because you're charting every single day as to what you're taking in the actual markets, whether it's a time difference. Okay, if you're trading within this 4 hours of time, but you're starting to realize that the last 2 hours of that 4 hour window are making you more money, maybe just switch to that. And that's how you just upgrade yourself from being a 70% trader to an 80% trader. Or if you're a better seller than a buyer, okay, why am I seeing sells so much better than buys? And it just, having it all put out in front of you, you start to understand what you need to tweak to become better within your strategy.
Now, if there was one thing you could recommend somebody spends another month mastering or the next month mastering, what would it be?
As just as far as trading goes,
trading or trading related sort of mindset stuff.
Trend is your friend all day long. Always number one rule. If you understand where the markets are going in higher time frames, more often than not, even if you don't fully have down those entry tactics, you're going to be correct. I think that's a heavy part of trading, is understanding where the market's going to go.
Cool. All right. We're going to dive into some quick fire questions here and then wrap this baby up. So to start off with, what strategies do you use to exit or manage trades?
So active trade management is just using that 13 moving average that we spoke about earlier. When I do enter a trade, let's just go to a buy scenario. When I do enter a trade and we are still sitting below a 13 MA in a buy scenario, there's no active trade management at all. We're either going to hit stop loss or range or consolidate sideways. Once we do break above that MA, this is on the 5 or 15-minute time frame based upon my entry. I'm literally just waiting for one, a close below that MA, and then two, a close below 5-minute structure. So it has to be two in unison. We have to close below that MA, and then in a buy scenario, close below that 5-minute higher low that was formed. And then that would hop out because obviously structure is switching against me within that trade.
Okay. Cool. So sometimes you might actually not get that full 6R or 2R. You might end up with a half an hour when you get that scenario. Okay, that's interesting.
Right. When we enter a trade, we want to make sure we're pulling money out, whether that's in full targets or somewhere in between. And so that's why I do execute active trade management. I don't just set and forget.
And do you ever get a point where it's like, okay, well, I'm actually now going to take a half-hour loss because that scenario has happened where it's broke above, then come back, close below, and broke a structure on a 5-minute. You're in
and it's
a
like
loss.
A bid and drawdown.
Yeah, it's bid and drawdown.
Close the trade out.
Okay,
close it out.
Okay, cool. It's a nice way. Actually, it's a nice way to get out of a trade that's probably going to hit your full stop loss.
Right.
What about a recommended trading book or resource?
As far as, just Notion Trading Journal is the best trading software I've ever found in my years of doing this. I've went to multiple platforms, and Notion is by far incredible for journaling your trades.
And is there a certain way to use Notion to do the journaling? I've never actually looked into it. I've used Notion before, but not for journaling.
Yeah, so you kind of have to create your own platform. I wish I could leave my link up, but in my free group, I actually have the whole template that I use, so you can use it for yourself. But you do have to create it. It's not just a trading journal. You have to create the journal for yourself, which is a good platform to be able to create it with.
Do you want to walk us through your worst ever trade?
My worst ever trade is at the Grove in Arizona. So it was like my last $2,500. Not that I needed it, as I was living with my parents and such, but I was into a trade. We were trying to go shoot guns with her dad. And so it's kind of in a rush, but I'm obviously managing a trade that I didn't even know how to manage because I didn't even know how to trade. And I lost all of that within a course of probably like 2 hours of just like sitting in this room telling them I'm sick and I'm just trying to have my stomach get better and such before we we left to go shoot guns. And although that's not nearly my biggest loss, that hurt for me just the worst because I just hated myself so much, because I felt like I would never get through the emotions and I would never become profitable. And here I am on vacation and it's freaking Thursday or Friday. And instead of hanging out with my girl's dad, I'm over here trying to trade like in the room. And it just the burden and the pain that I felt from that point. Yeah. It was by far my worst trade, I just had tons of hatred for myself at that point.
And last question, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would it be?
Not everything is what you guys think it is in this industry. Not everybody is who they say they are in this industry. I'm learning that more and more as the week goes by, honestly. Don't fill your head with everything you see on Instagram and begin to have a frustration towards yourself because you're not there. Understand a lot of these people aren't there either. And I mean that. So take your time. This is your journey. This is your money. This is your investment. And tailor it to work for yourself and don't beat yourself up because it hasn't happened yet. Here I am talking about being in the industry for 10 plus years. However, I've been working for almost the entire duration of all of that because it just took me a lot longer to become the successful person I am now. Due to one thing or another, it just took a longer time. So don't beat yourself up. No one is a quitter until they actually quit, and continue to push forward to be the person you want to be.
Lovely. Brilliant. Now, before we wrap up, what's the best way for traders to get hold of you?
At Emmitt.trades on all platforms, which is Instagram and YouTube. I stream now 1 day a week. It's coming back 5 days a week, but right now it is Wednesdays, every Wednesday. Again, Emmitt.trades. I have multiple podcasts up, but this is by far the best one. So make sure you guys watch the whole thing.
Awesome. Well, look, a big thank you to Emmitt Smith. Would you believe it? It's Super Bowl day as well. I know you're not a big NFL fan, but anyway, everything we discussed here, along with the links, and are going to be in the show notes. To find them, hit the link below this video, or if you're in the podcast, then it'll be in the description there, or just search for Emmitt in the search box on tradingnut.com. Until next time, wish all my listeners trading happiness and success. All right, folks, the ever interview done and dusted with Emmitt. Now, he did actually break down how he identifies trends on a price chart. So if you want to check that out, there's a link directly under this video, or in the podcast description. It's going to take you to his page. You're going to find that video there. Whilst you're on the YouTube channel, then make sure you check out my last week's video where I actually give you a free trading algo at the end of it. It's something I've built as part of my Robot Lab Live. Check out the video because you're going to learn the fake out strategy that we turned into a fully automated bot and how it generated, I think it's like 190% return across 6 years. All right, folks, that is what's going on here at Trading Nut. Have a great trading week and we'll see you in the next episode.